Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am going to deal with community radio and its operationalization. Mostly it has got 5 components, namely objectives, introduction, community radio, its meaning and importance, operationalization of community radio, and experiences of community radio in India. The major objectives of this unit deals with importance of community radio in dissemination of farm technologies. It also addresses issues in operationalization of community radio and also deals with initiatives of community radio in India and abroad. The objectives mainly deals with choosing the topics and formats by identifying information needs of the farmers. It also enable us to know the feedback mechanism for evaluating the programs. Now we will start the introduction of the community radio. You can see mostly radio is, everybody knows, it is one of the oldest media of communication. It enables us to have information revolution, and which has resulted in green revolution taking place during early 60s in our country. The farmers tuned to the radio mainly for weather forecast, market prices, and also to know the pests and diseases. The radio has remained one of the most entertainment media in our country, and in doing so the agricultural issues have become general and also for irrigated belts in our country. So the government has started to motivate the people through radio by organizing radio rural forums. The main objective of this radio rural forum is listen, discuss and act. Here 20 people, more or less a group of people, sit together, discuss the issue about the cultivation aspects, then raise some questions to be followed in cultivation aspects. So this enables the radio rural forums to become very popular during 1960s. Around 7,500 radio rural forums have been formed in the country. However, when technology has been constantly changing, the transistor became the cheaper mode of the communication, and the shift from group to individual listening had taken place. In early 1970s, Farm School on All India Radio was started. It deals with a complete course on subject of relevance to the farmers. With success at Bangalore All India Radio Station in 1978, Farm School on Air is being run at different stations. This was the scenario during 1960s. Then government came with farm and home units in All India Radio during 1965. The major focus is on to communicate technologies relevant to agriculture and other technical information. It mostly covered talks, discussions and interviews with successful farmers, school on All India Radio and agriculture bulletin, etc. Radio programs were aimed at covering mostly rural areas, farmer oriented and location specific technologies. All India Radio also strengthened its coverage and network through community participation, but as you all know, the airtime for agriculture and rural sector is very much limited. I would like to say that India's the first community radio station was started in Chennai in Anna University on 1/2/2004. On 16/11/2006, Government of India notified the community radio policy, which enabled the NGOs and civil society organizations to own and operate the community radio stations. In December 2002, the Government of India came out with a policy guidelines how to get license to educational and management institutes. The manage also wanted to start one community radio in agricultural areas to serve the farming community in a better way. Community radio is the cheapest mode of information for dissemination purposes, and also it addresses local concerns and aspirations, and most of the technologies that are disseminated are in interactive mode, so that education and development takes place simultaneously. There are three types of radio we have at present. One is public radio, second private radio, third one is community radio. The public radio is owned and operated by the government. Its purpose is to serve the general public in the way that the government think is best. The private radio is also owned and operated by individuals or companies, and its purpose of this kind of station is to make money. You can see many private radio stations are operating in most of the districts in our country, but however community radio is entirely different. It is supported by the state, individuals or corporate houses or international bodies. It is owned by non-profit group or cooperatives who are themselves the listeners of the programs. It is a broadcasting organization to provide communication support for the social, economic and cultural development of a community. It operates within a geographical location, say a village or a district, owned and operated by the community on a not-for-profit basis. The concept of community radio mainly deals with the term community, which means something in common. It can be geographical or communities of interest or virtual. Geographical in the sense it covers a radius of maybe 15 to 20 kilometers. Communities of interest can also be another form of the community radio focus or the virtual community radios. It mostly deals with wireless broadcasting station. It has low power and inexpensive setup. The importance in rural community is well understood by every one of us. It acts as a catalyst for social development. It responds to the information and cultural needs of the illiterate, marginalized, remote and underserved communities. It is a supportive medium for poor women. It gives a new lease of life for traditional folk media. Again, it also focuses on women's rights in socio-political solutions and situations, maintain community cohesion during disasters like flood, drought, etc. The listeners feel a sense of identification with programs that makes very much a distinct from all India radio stations. Operationalization of community radio has got three parts. One is the studio for live broadcast or recording programs for later broadcast. Then it has a transmitter to convert the speech into a high frequency signal for transmission, a tower with antenna mounted on a high pole or a tower which is used to send signals in a large area and the signal travels in the line of sight. It also handles and operates the equipment on daily basis, mostly by volunteers from school teachers or students of the community. It can be anybody else, it is only voluntary participation. Various groups can be formed for hardware maintenance, content creation, OB coverage, dubbing and recording. Then there are few tips for running a station. First one, we have to frame rules for staff and volunteer management, rules for fundraising, then liaison with the local administration, policy for program production, prepare an annual financial statement, attend meeting with anyone who supports our programs, then attend meetings with program staff to guide and encourage their work. The stakeholders are community members, they are the audience and providers of technology, especially hardware like equipment. Then they train the members of the community how to use and maintain the equipment. Then at the government there are two levels, the department which will grant permission for the program either through all India radio channels or through ownership of radio transmitters. Then the local administrative authorities. The producers and staff comprises people who know crafts for production, they generate ideas and create programs, help with inputs from outside sources. Then resource mobilizers are those people who provide finance, maybe state, corporate house or an NGO. The ultimate sustainability must come from the community. The most of the functions of the community radio can be focused on village areas where the farmers issues are mainly addressed. But apart from that, the community radio can focus on farm women, rural youth, housewives and underemployed youth. We can also address issues concerning with health, environment and traditional arts, and also children who can contribute to the programs of the community radio. For example, the children who has got talent like singing, dancing, and students at high schools and colleges who have won prizes at the district level, state level or national level, we can interview them and so that will act as a motivation factor for other members of the community. Like doctors who can come over to our studio and record their experiences in case of emergency like dengue fever or bird flu. The community radio in this situation rise up to the occasion to serve the community, to know the people what precaution they should take so that this type of recurrent diseases are not repeated in the coming years. And environment plays a major part in making people aware of the impact, the soil and water pollution, air pollution. We live mostly in cities. The people who come for this type of migration labors, we can address their issues, what are their priorities, what are their difficulties in their living area. So community radio can address these issues to the policy makers to find out a amicable solution. Community radio opens new vistas in our life. Anything under the sun and above the earth can be your subject of creativity. It can be of your own hobbies, for example, or the neighborhood people or the welfare association, you can contact them. We may not be knowing who is living in the next door, but community radio provides a forum in understanding each other's experience and learning from them. It is for the people who can come forward and exchange their ideas, experiences, so that some mistakes can be avoided in preserving their nature and some successes can be repeated for follow-up adoption and becoming a greater value in their life. Thank you.